What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. Today, I am talking to two black belts, Adam and Jake Ferrara.
Yep.
What's up, guys? How's life treating you, bro?
How you doing?
Good, man. Good. I'm pumped to talk to you guys, man. I'm basically talking to your whole little crew over the last couple of years, man.
Yeah, and it's been nice.
On there, you have Kevin Mahesha.
Yeah.
The whole thing going
Actually, I had a really good conversation with. I invited Mateo to do a second interview with this functional physician from Manila, and it was good. Like, I'm pretty, he's on point. Like, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Mateo's a beast. He does both of our strength and conditioning right now, especially with everything going on with the coronavirus. He's pretty much tailored everything to what we have access to. So whether it's the garage gym or band work or, plate work or something like that, Mateo's a savage, man. He's definitely keeping us in tip-top shape.
Yeah, obviously, even just aside from his, jiu-jitsu credentials, but it's nice to have somebody like him, I definitely can understand why you had him on the show. I mean, that's part of, I saw his interview and I was like, man, we should hop on there too and catch up and everything.
Yeah, it was good combo. We actually have I have an idea, and hopefully, I already ran it by him and see what's up, because I feel like jiu-jitsu is such a relatively new sport that there's not enough like auxiliary people like helping like the jiu-jitsu athlete.
For sure.
Like, there's not enough of Mateos out there to kind of help the jiu-jitsu people that actually do jiu-jitsu. So like I've the people that I've run into is like guys that are kind of do jiu-jitsu, but not like understand like the real aches and pains of like actual jiu-jitsu. And and one of the things that him and I are going to probably do is start like interviewing, like doing like a client profile for like high level jiu-jitsu guys. So basically kind of like do like a phone interview like this, and we're like the intake people. Say, okay, so what are you doing for your training regimen? Like how, blah, 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 blah. Because I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys don't have the resource, where we can be like, okay, man, it sounds like you may have fucked up your shoulder. You should go talk to XYZ. And then we farm out the work to like somebody that can kind of give that athlete some kind of guidance, because you know how it is, man. Like you really don't make any money doing jiu-jitsu until like you're, like at the top, or you own your own gym. Meanwhile, you're just basically hopefully not having to actually pay for the jiu-jitsu membership. Did we go quiet? No, he's there.
Good. Sorry about that, brother. My internet connection for some reason was being weird there for a second.
No worries, man.
Sorry, what were you saying? I apologize.
That's okay. I feel like you guys know firsthand that that the average jiu-jitsu person doesn't make any money until they either A, they get to the highest level, or B, own their own gym. So I kind of figure this is kind of like hopefully me and Mateo's way of like kind of helping out the jiu-jitsu athlete and saying, hey, there's no reason for you to be in pain, bro. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like we can kind of help you a little bit.
Well,
let us give you like some advice on what to do,
Yeah, well, Mateo knows that firsthand, man. He dealt with some serious injuries, himself, and we've seen over and over, I think sometimes you borrow that kind of, we started in wrestling, but you borrow that kind of wrestling mentality in jiu-jitsu of harder, faster, stronger, right? And especially when you're a competitor, people want to they think that, I can push through it, I can push this, I can push that. Well, some things you can, right? There's a difference between being hurt and injured, right? That whole adage. And I think some guys, they push through being straight up injured, and it's great from a heart standpoint, but your body's not going to do very well, especially as you get older and older, and I'm starting to, get older and older. So I feel those things.
Yeah. When you're 20, you don't feel it so much, but when you're 28, things start kind of working a little bit differently.
I remember rolling with Kevin Mahesha, broke my ankle, but there was a bunch of UFC fighters there, so I didn't want to stop training. So I rolled the entire rest of the session with a broken ankle. Went to the hospital the next day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you have a broken ankle." I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Man, I probably should have sat out.
Well, I mean, we did so much of that stuff, you know, just like just pushing through stupid situations, and now it's nice. I mean, that's part of why we work with Mateo is like he asks us constantly. I'm texting with him. You know, he's personalizing workouts for us now during quarantine. He can't really see us as much. You know, we train together, but my wife's pregnant, so we're not really having too many people come in and out. It's more like smaller trainings, but
Right.
he's you know, personalizing workouts for us. But he's texting me constantly, "How you feeling today?" You know, like you know, I have some stuff with like IT band issues a little bit, like just from overuse playing half guard on one side and pushing a lot with that leg, and I have just certain things that'll like kind of aches and pains, and he'll be like, "Okay, we're gonna do this stretch or incorporate this mobility workout, or just a prehab," he calls it a lot, you know, for your knee or for that specific, you know, whatever it is that you're working on. And he really kind of loads or deloads based off of us. And it would have been really nice at 20 to have some of those ideas, because for me, I was just, like I said, it was just train more, train harder, do more rounds, you know, suck it up, don't be a baby, like you'll be fine.
I mean, like I said, I feel like the sport's still at its infancies, but it's getting there. Like I went and I got certified with Sebastian Brosh. He started a whole yoga program for Yoga for BJJ.
For sure.
And that was like his big thing is like one of like the core things that he teaches us to teach other people is like a warm up that's designed to like help you like legitimately warm up your joints for jiu-jitsu instead of like it's not bullshit, but like it kind of is. The normal warm up that you do like in jiu-jitsu, it's kind of bullshit.
Rolls,
run around the mat, hip escapes. I mean, yeah, I think some of that's viable for maybe, you know, 5 minutes of the class if you have to do it at all. But yeah, I get what you're saying. There are definitely more applicable ways to warm up, I think, for sure. Yeah. Definitely. Or, you know, being a blue or a purple belt when I was 20 years old and being a competitor and just thinking, oh, warm-up's not for me at all. You know what I mean? And as you get older, like, dude, I can't do that. I can't hop onto the mat cold anymore. My body will really it'll hurt. You know, it just doesn't. I can't. I don't even feel loose right away. You know, it's just can't do it. Can't do it, man.
How old are you?
I just turned 30.
And you?
I'm 28.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, for him, you know, he's younger than me, but he's been in the sport of grappling. You know, we both started with wrestling. But
tell me about that. When did you guys start wrestling?
I started wrestling in 2005, back in Columbus, Ohio, our hometown. Didn't make the basketball team.
Nice.
So,
and
there was a wrestling coach standing outside recruiting everybody.
Man.
That
Smart
was,
wrestling coach.
You know, that didn't make, you know, you got a little slip of paper and it was either a yes or a no. And mine said no. And the wrestling coach was like, "Did you make it?" And I didn't. And one of my other buddies didn't either. And he's like, "Come out for wrestling." And I mean, we were big WWF fans. So we were like, I was like, hell yeah, man, I'll hop in the wrestling room. Started wrestling a little bit in middle school, and I really just fell in love with it. That was pretty much it for me. And I never stopped. Wrestled all the way through middle school and high school. And then, you know, I was going to go away and wrestle in college after high school. I actually got accepted to Millersville in Pennsylvania. And I got cold feet. I've had the same girlfriend since junior year of high school. So that was kind of one of those things that kept me here too. But we started training jiu-jitsu and
girls.
What can you do? But, you know, it was one of those things where.
Wait.
Are we good?
Yep, now I can hear you again.
I don't know why it's doing that. I apologize, man.
It's okay,
really
man.
Strange. But go ahead.
We're doing this learning technology, man. It took me like 3 calls to get this Zoom thing down.
Always, man.
But after I decided to stick around here, and I went to state college here, and you know, we started doing jiu-jitsu full time, and then started coaching a youth program for wrestling. So I never really lost the wrestling aspect. But started training jiu-jitsu, and, you know, that pretty much led me where I am today.
Yeah, and so I kind of, like I said, he started way before me. So he started in middle school wrestling, and then wrestled through high school, and then obviously, like I said, he got he had an offer to go and wrestle at college, in college, but we were kind of doing jiu-jitsu and going on that track at the time. I got into wrestling way later. So I was in high school, like a little punk kid, like skater, like skateboard kid. And that's what I did. And I was kind of into everything alternative. So organized sports for me at the time were not something I wanted to do. So I wasn't wrestling, and actually didn't really find it until later on. I got into some trouble, we'll say, in my later teen years, and my parents basically had enough of it and were like, hey, you know, you need a little bit of some discipline. So one of the things that they had me do was, they were like, you're going to club wrestling with your brother. So I would go in, and at the time I was like very, very small kid, coming out of high school. I only graduated at like 115 pounds or something like that, really tiny. So I was going with, with a 14-year-old freshman who ended up wrestling in college, ended up being a state champ in North Carolina. He had moved away from our program, but he would just light me up, dude, and just like beat the crap out of me. And after that, I was like, all right, I got to figure something out, because I can't be having 14-year-old kids like beat on me, and I'm already a small guy. So I found jiu-jitsu, and the place that I found, actually, I just so happened to walk into a really, really good location. The Armory had just bought this location, this like really small MMA gym called Physogen from Randy Couture. And Randy Couture didn't teach there or anything, but it was like his name, you know? And they had bought this gym, and with the Armory, Buchecha, Cavaca, Tiago Abreu, who's a high-level black belt, and Gabriel Royo, Paulito, all came in at the same time. So I saw all of these high-level black belts right around my age, and they were crushing it on a big, big level. And I met some guys at this gym who were right around my age that I was friends with, and I just started training every day. Like, I was like, these guys, man, I got into it, of course, for UFC. I wanted to do MMA and all that, but then when I saw these guys and saw that they were I really don't know why it's
Good. You're good now.
good. Right. I'm sorry. So, like I was saying, I got into, this sport originally for UFC, all that sort of stuff. But when, and because I got into wrestling so late, I couldn't really compete for the club. So like, I was wrestling with the club, but there wasn't really competition. Then when I found jiu-jitsu, had this, list of, high level guys competing, and a sport that allowed me to be able to do it. It was like, okay, cool. I could wrestle and use some of the stuff that I was doing there and compete in jiu-jitsu at the same time. Plus just having guys who are crushing it at a high level and getting to see what a high level jiu-jitsu guy looked like. Like, they were only there for a short period of time, so I didn't learn that much from Buchecha and all of them technique wise. I was still a white belt, so I didn't understand anything, but it was really, really good to just get to see what the lifestyle of jiu-jitsu was like. And coming from wrestling, and him, he had competed, but for me, it was really, really nice to be like, okay, cool. It's all right that I'm, 18, 19, and I can start competing, and not with wrestling. If you're 18, 19, you're going against guys who've been doing it since they were 3-4 years old.
Yeah. Totally understand you on that one. I wrestled through high school, through junior high and high school. Actually placed third in state in California.
Really?
Lost
in
to
California, really?
Yeah, I lost to the same guy twice.
Well, wait.
Fuck, it was a long time ago, bro. We're talking. Walk around. It was 181. I'm pretty sure the weight brackets are different now, but I was
it's a little different.
Yeah, 181 at the time.
That's awesome.
They kept those same weight classes for a long time, though. When I graduated, it was still there was still 181, and then it was like 195 and
Yeah.
Was California still one division at that time?
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean by one
Right
division?
now, California, there's only, I believe, one. Like
There's
in
one.
Florida, so we both coach now high school wrestling. But in Florida, we have 3 divisions. There's 1A, which is the small schools and private schools. There's 2A, and then there's 3A. I believe New York is 1 division, and I believe California, if I'm not mistaken, is 1 division.
I don't really recall. I mean, we're talking. It was when I was in high school. So
Yeah, for sure.
my awareness to that kind of shit was.
Well, if it was, man, then you were a good wrestler.
I was okay. I didn't really pop off until like my senior year, and it was some guy, school called. I actually still remember the name of the school. It was called Dos Pueblos, and it was a school that recruited wrestlers, and literally like every single wrestler was like state ranked at every weight.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
awesome.
there was this one guy, and I remember there was this one dude, and he was smaller than me, but I think he competed at like 155. And I remember, because you know how you get nerves and all that when you're competing.
For sure.
Right.
I think I was a sophomore in high school, a junior. I don't remember exactly what year it was. And I remember he was literally just sleeping on the bleachers, and one of his teammates like came over and kind of nudged him like, "Hey man, they called you up. You're going to be up in a couple minutes." And I remember him just waking up like as if he was just taking a nap, and he just kind of did a couple jumping jacks, did a couple push-ups, kind of banged out a couple stretches, and bro, he went out there. It was like a clinic. He was literally like left, right, single, double, and he was basically just at will. And then I was like in awe. And from that day forward, because he was so relaxed that it changed my whole view of like competition. And the very next year, I fucking dominated. I only lost to that one guy at finals. I literally won every single match all the way until I got to state. And it was the one guy that he whooped my ass the first time, and the second time he beat me in like overtime by like just like an escape. And I was just like, but it was a good experience.
That's level up, man. That's what you want. You leveled up.
It was all 100%. It was just me seeing this guy and how comfortably relaxed he was, that there was like zero like buildup, like emotional, psychological buildup, that it kind of, whatever reason, like made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, man, I just got to not stress this shit.
No, for sure, man.
Man, I remember when I was a freshman, I was 9-18 on varsity, so not a very good record at all. And then the very next year, I mean, all freshman year, our coach that we is still the coach now for the high school, and we coach with him, but he was really good about sending us to camps and off-season tournaments, preseason tournaments, and all that. So 9-18 as a freshman on varsity. Come back the next year, I was 17-4 before I dislocated. I had a posticular dislocation of my clavicle. So it was a sternoclavicular dislocation is what it's called. So basically, I landed like this, and my collarbone went into my neck.
Yeah.
So I was out for the rest of that year. But, something from that freshman to sophomore jump, I was like, I'm pretty fucking good at this. Like, I need to have a little bit of, a little mental, like, hey, dude, you're good, man. Go out there.
Dude, I think
wrestle
that
tough.
happens. I think that happens with everyone, man. I think I still even have that a little bit going into black belt. Like, there's a jump every, you know what I mean?
Never lose it.
Like, like I had that. I remember when I was a blue belt, the goal was just win an open. You know what I mean? If I can win an open, right? And that's all I wanted, right? Like on my blue belt, before I ended my blue belt, I just wanted to win an open, because it was a really, like, I hadn't been he'd been competing for a while. So he was able to kind of achieve that pretty quickly. And he had, especially at blue belt starting off, a lot of success really early, right? Well, I'm still learning how to compete. I didn't have those years of wrestling, so I'm still learning how to compete. So it was like, get an IBJJF gold. And if I can do that, man, I was even happy just like get on the podium, but like a gold. So I remember I went to Dallas, and I went with Mateo actually. And I finally got my IBJJF gold. And after that, purple belt got a little bit easier. I won all the opens that I did. Then brown belt, I placed at Worlds and Pans, won a couple of those big tournaments. And then now at black belt, it's like, hey, learn how to do it all over again with the big boys, So I think you're always leveling up like that.
Yeah,
You know?
especially with jiu-jitsu. I mean, when I talk to people that don't know jiu-jitsu, I say that it's like chess with your body. And
Yeah.
the better you get at chess, you just play better players.
For
so
sure.
like it's like a never ending game.
For
It's
sure.
like, so no matter how good you are, you're gonna eventually run into someone that is just a little bit better.
Right. Well, and styles matter so much
They
too,
do.
you know, styles, mental game. I mean,
It's so cerebral now. The game, especially in the gi, man, the game in the gi is so cerebral. They're just as strong and just as fast and just as technical. And it's like, whose game is going to match up better? Whose game is really going to, take it to the next level there? And it's just crazy to see. I think in Nogi, it's finally kind of making that transition to being more cerebral with the leg locks and, some of these positions, especially with the Danaher guys and, those games where they're really breaking down positions. I think beforehand, Nogi really wasn't like that. It was the most athletic or the fastest and the strongest guys were always coming out on top. And it was always the gi guys that were so cerebral. But now that Nogi game is just getting just as intelligent, and I think a lot of it comes from this leg lock and stuff, that new leg lock game.
Yeah, it's complicated, man. I'm not at that point yet in my jiu-jitsu, but it's to be honest with you, it scares me a little bit because it's like you make an error. It's like it can fuck you up. Like, it's like
even
it's
more
like,
even more like going back to kind of what you were saying in terms of that, like leveling up in the game, like even though jiu-jitsu is in its infancy, people are starting to take this much more seriously. Like Jake said, it's starting to get gi and no-gi somewhat semi-professionalized here, and people take it very, very seriously, so
which is awesome. I mean, now the next generation can actually, like,
dude, to win at blue belt now and not that I don't want to say it's harder, because there were some seriously devoted guys even when we were coming through the ranks that are winning at black belt now that I remember competing against coming up through the ranks, some very good guys. So we always had that, but the sheer number to win a blue belt,
you got like 120 guys.
Blue belt pans or worlds is insane.
One division, one weight class is gonna have 120 guys in blue belt. You know what I mean? I remember when we were going. I think my division, the first time we went out to Worlds with Shark and Mateo, it was like, I think 87 guys in featherweight and like 96 guys in lightweight. It's ridiculous how many guys are out there really just putting it all out there now.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger, man. It's cool, man. It's cool to watch it grow, man. It's a lot of good gyms and like it's becoming like a legitimate sport, which is awesome.
For sure.
So tell me a little bit about the kids program that you're doing, man. The high school program.
You want to
take
that?
So I teach the younger kids. So mine are really, it's from 5 years old all the way up until like 8th grade. So I teach the youth program. We run it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just 2 days a week, but they separate into 2 classes. So I have, my advanced kids and my beginners. And I've been teaching this one since about 2013. Same club. Yeah, right now we've got
Wellington Wrestling Club.
Yeah, it's called Wellington Wrestling.
And it's affiliated with the high school as well. It's run by, our head coach at the high school program, Travis Gray. So Jake deals with, the club program, which is the off season kind of, and the younger kids, bringing them into the sport. Anytime they're not in school, because down here in Florida, there's not as big of a middle school, elementary. There's no program. Like there's no FHSAA, middle school wrestling, right? Whereas you don't really get it until high school. So Jake's kind of there to fill that void a little bit.
Gotcha.
And then what ends up happening is once they obviously get into high school, Jake has them for the off season with his advanced kids. So like right now we're not in season. So Jake is working with those guys, obviously when, some of these restrictions and stuff with COVID kind of, die down a little bit and, we see where things go with that. But ideally Jake would be working with these guys in the off season. And then actually my day job is I'm actually an English teacher at the high school. So I teach at the high school, and then, you know, part of what lets me.
That's an awesome setup.
It's
So
nice, man.
So wait. So let me understand this correctly. You work during the day, then you teach the wrestling program in the afternoon,
Yeah.
early evening, and somewhere in there you pepper in your own jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
That's a lifestyle, man.
I got it set up pretty nice, you know, so I do have my own, you know, I do have my day job that helps pay the bills. You know, I mean, I'd like to eventually one day, you know, have an academy and that sort of stuff, but, you know, I got a, you know, a wife and a baby on the way. So I've always kind of had to work and do jiu-jitsu and kind of try to take this as seriously as I can. So, you know, I mean, that's another thing with Jake and I is we've always done something with jiu-jitsu. You know, I got obviously my degree and was working all the way through school as well, and competing at, you know, some of the highest levels for, you know, jiu-jitsu. And now it's making that work, that schedule. But obviously it's great that I work all day. Then, you know, I got some pretty good guys that are coming into the wrestling room, you know, and I do that from about 3 to 5. And then, you know, a few days a week, drive down and train with AJ and those boys. And then the other couple of days I have mats in my garage and I have a full weight set up and lifting and getting training there. So in wrestling season, then it's great. His kids come to me when they're in high school, and by the time they get to me, hopefully if they've gone through our club program, they're pretty talented already. And it's always easier for me if I got some kids that can tie their shoes when they come into the wrestling room. It makes our program look good, you know.
We're becoming one of the powerhouses down here in Florida too. I mean, we've taken, what do we take, 6 to states this year. We had our first ever state finalist on the high school team, state finalist. You know, we had a couple state place winners, but, you know, since I graduated, not to like toot my own horn or anything, but really it was kind of my graduating class that started the ball rolling for our coach now, Travis, to really get the club motivated and kind of facilitated that growth in that feeder program for Wellington Wrestling. And, you know, it's been awesome to see some of these kids that I've taken some of these kids from 4th, 5th grade all the way through high school, and to see them finally reach that state podium is, you know, super rewarding.
Of course, man. You're not tooting your own horn. You fucking take credit from credit's due, bro. Let's fucking ball it out, bro. Fuck out of here, man.
That's what's it's just really nice, you know. That's really how the big programs do it. You know, where we're from in Ohio, Jake, you know, I didn't wrestle up there. Obviously, I got into wrestling when we were down here, but Jake did. And a lot of our, you know, sort of mentality is kind of you know, Midwestern mentality in that way, in terms of, you know, the way we approach the sport of wrestling and the way we approach jiu-jitsu, right? Just hard work, getting down to it, those types of things. And in Ohio, the way that the most successful programs are run is you have kids clubs. You have kids clubs and you have youth wrestling, and youth wrestling, they don't need to be amazing. You know, if they can, like I said, if they understand their body just a little bit and can tie their shoes when they're coming in and can do the basic movements, by the time they hit high school, you got something to work with. Especially now, the curve's getting more and more. It's kind of like jiu-jitsu. Like, you're seeing young prodigies becoming.
Yeah, there's there's these two, like, I don't know if it's one kid or if it's like two brothers. They're they're kids, man. They're like 15.
The Ritolos, is that who you're thinking
No,
of?
no, not those two. There's another, like, another set of kids. And they were doing stuff that I was like, yo, that's not like they're blue belts, and I'm like, yo, that's not blue belt work.
I mean, it's crazy. But, you know, like, it's getting to be the same in wrestling, where if you're not starting early, you know, and you're not producing kids that are liking the sport at an early age, it's becoming harder and harder to start as a freshman and get to that state level even. You know, you may get to the tournament, but placing, you know, is going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I'm noticing that too with like a lot of the young guys that I roll with up at Marcelo's. A lot of them is because they started so young that their body kind of avoids a little bit of some injury. They have a little bit more flexibility. So like some of the compromising positions in jiu-jitsu are not so compromising for them because they started like training jujitsu when they were, you know, like 12 or 13, when your body is in a little bit more of a relaxed state because you're, you know, because you're a kid.
For sure.
And then that you learn how your body moves so that by the time, you know, I roll with them when they're like 20, you can tell the difference between the person that started when they were like 13, 14 years old.
For sure.
Compared to someone who may have started at like 17, 18.
Right.
It's
right.
like, even though it's still like relatively young, but you could see, like you could just feel that their body is just more elastic. They have like this elasticity that you're like, whoa, what is that? Like, that's not normal.
Yeah, 100%. Well, for him, like the youngest kids, I mean, you're not even really showing much technique. I mean, we have kids that are as young as how old?
Well, my youngest, I won't start any younger. The club doesn't let in any younger than 5. So, I mean, 5 years old is the youngest kids that I've got. And really, with the 5-year-olds, you do teach them the forward rolls and backward rolls because we think it's easy, but then you say, okay, to a 5-year-old, do a forward roll, and they have no idea what they're doing, you know? So it's a lot of I do a lot of gymnastics and, you know, things like that with them. And
body awareness.
Body awareness.
Exactly. Then we go into the
awareness. You know, even playing the games, can't tell you how psyched even my high schoolers get just to play dodgeball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was our reward. Our reward was like, oh, you guys did a good job of training this week. Right. We're playing dodgeball at the end of class.
Coordination, all those things are involved in it. I mean, it's not directly related to the sport, but getting them to enjoy it at that age, and just like you said, you see it when they get a little bit older. Just knowing how to fall, knowing how to move your body around somebody, you can learn that and not be super, super serious. I mean, we're not really pushing any kids super hard until they're, you know.
So you guys are basically direct influencing some of like the wrestling reels that you see some wrestlers like doing like leg entries to like an ankle pick. It's like, yo, did that guy just try to do like a baby bolo to do an ankle pick?
Exactly. Well, our coach show bolos from single legs and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is our wrestlers, the way that I wrestle, I tell them all the time, like, remember, one, my sport's different than yours, so my objectives are different. You're not allowed to do what I do. Like, if our coach, because our coach is from Minnesota, wrestled in Minnesota, and he's very meat and potatoes. Like, his style of technique is very thorough and very it's systematic, but it's safe wrestling. You know, it's not going to, we're trying to get to as many kids as we can, you know, the most solid ways that you can wrestle. Well, the way that I wrestle, really even the way I do jiu-jitsu is not that way, but the way that I coach is, you know, Jake and I have always been kind of risk takers in matches. We'll go for things. We'll go for flying arm bars and triangles. And when I wrestle, I'll put myself on my back to put you on your back, you know, and that's just not the way most wrestlers are, right? It's position, position, position. And you, so it's funny, I say all the time, he's the meat and potatoes, and then Jake and I give a little bit of the flavor. You know, you got to have a little bit of the spice. Exactly. But at the same time, I think if my wrestlers wrestled the way I do, they would give me a heart attack. They would drive me.
I just think it's hilarious when you see like a high level like college kid that you're like, yo, did he just like straight up inverted to go to try to take the guy's leg and popped up on an ankle pick. I'm like,
and you watch Yanni Diakomahalis, and that guy's doing things. He's like in 50-50 sometimes and pulling his leg out and scoring 2 points.
Yeah, they do leg battles now. You'll see more and more
Jason
leg battles.
Is another one, but these guys are transitioning. I mean, you're seeing the interplay.
Flow grappling. You see flow grappling and flow wrestling on Instagram. They're doing these mergers. You have guys like Bo Nickel going out and wrestling Gordon. And you know,
that was pretty cool. Like, and even
those guys. I think we lost them.
Yeah.
You there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
But you see guys like Pat Downey going out there and taking on Nicky Rod and things like that. And it's so great it's great for grappling in general because, you know, we grew up with wrestling and then transitioned into jiu-jitsu. But I'm seeing more and more, like I've seen a few of the guys that we used to train with back in the day, they transitioned from jiu-jitsu to wrestling. One kid, Elias Masuli, ended up being a state champion in wrestling. But he started with jiu-jitsu. I mean, we went to Abu Dhabi together in 2013 when he was, like 13 years old. you know, and he
That
won.
seems to be the best kind of thing. And then Jordan, I remember when Gordon Ryan, he proposed like a new rule set to kind of make it like, it's just a great idea. I think it was something like a submission was like a point. It wasn't like the end of the match.
Wasn't the end, yeah.
And it was like a point for takedowns. I think that was basically the principle. So like no like leg locks. It was, but I was like, yo, that's a great little system, because then you can have like high level.
Well, the more you see the interplay between flow grappling and flow wrestling, the more you're going to see guys jumping into both, you know? And I think a rule set like an 80cc, which is really, I think, taken off, especially this after the production of this last one. I mean, I know Jake and I and a lot of guys at our gym, that's what we're getting ready for. It's a real avenue for those wrestlers to kind of jump into a jiu-jitsu style tournament where points are still relevant and your skill set is rewarded. In the gi, IBJJF, that's not always the case. So when you have more rule sets and more platforms, I think you're going to see more more wrestlers that are willing to jump in, because in the gi, let's be honest, if you don't know, you're getting tapped very quickly. And I don't care if you've been training for 3 months and you've been wrestling for your entire life, you put a gi on, you go with a black belt, the wrestler's getting tapped. You know what I mean? Whereas an 80cc, or some of these modified rules that you talk about, you're giving a little bit of credence to what the wrestler can do, you know, and that is important.
100%. And I think it's also, I think if the more they merge it, the more there'll be opportunity for that MMA path for both wrestlers and jiu-jitsu people. Because I feel like jiu-jitsu people that don't do wrestling or don't interact with wrestlers forget the wrestler grind. That shit is taxing. When you go with a wrestler, it's like, I know I'm better than you, and you're just outworking me. It is because you get there's like a rhythm that you like kind of naturally get with jiu-jitsu that you can't get in wrestling, because the person is just much more athletic. The wrestler has to be a little bit cautious, because the jiu-jitsu guy can be basically, playing possum, and then all of a sudden you step into something and boom, there goes your arm.
Well, you can't make up for experience. And in wrestling, when you have a high school sport like that and they don't have to pay and they do tournaments, I mean, our kids, man, I had multiple seniors this year with 100-win careers. I mean, think about that, 100-win careers. That means, think about when they were freshmen, sophomores, and they weren't winning all the time before they, start to get good. To get 100 wins and to have that many matches, I don't think it's as easy for a jiu-jitsu guy to have that many matches. It's just not possible.
Especially when you're paying, you're paying for air travel, you're paying for hotel, food, and entry to the tournament. You know what I mean? And if you
I don't get jiu-jitsu in schools, bro.
Sorry?
Jiu-jitsu in schools.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
That'd be good.
Well, and in jiu-jitsu, it's one and done. You lose, that's it. You could have there could be, 50 guys in your bracket, but you lose to the champ first round, and that's all you get. In wrestling, it's not that way. It's double elimination. They wrestle for true third, so they're wrestling all the way back. Some of these kids, they lose their first match to the kid that goes on to take first, but they wrestle 6 more matches in place of that, and end up having a 5-1 weekend. So a kid, they get 6 matches in one weekend. In jiu-jitsu guys, you have to be on a really hot streak. You got to win all 6 of those matches to get to the finals, or to be the champion.
So you have a wrestler coming in who, even if they don't know much jiu-jitsu, still has that mat experience, so they're still able, and they're still bringing with them, even if they only had 2 seasons of wrestling, they could potentially have had 40 to 50 matches, and that's invaluable. Whereas I also think the biggest thing to remember is that jiu-jitsu is for profit. And I tell people this all the time, especially wrestlers, because I get annoyed with both sides. The wrestling side talking about jiu-jitsu and the jiu-jitsu side talking about wrestling, having my hand in kind of both areas. I try to tell wrestlers all the time, look, man, you come to one of our training sessions, it's not a night class. They're not trying to make money, and it's not for you to feel nice and to learn some technique and to sweat and exercise. You come to one of our competition trainings, it's a wrestling practice. We're going hard. We're drilling we're in situational sparring. And I think sometimes wrestlers go to, you know, a jiu-jitsu school and go to a night class and they're like, oh, this isn't tough. This isn't wrestling. And it's like, well, that gym owner is not trying to get, you know, not everybody there is trying to compete. When you're in a wrestling room, every single guy is only in there because they're trying to be on a spot on the team and compete. So the dynamics change. You know, if I'm just trying to work out and you're trying to get, you know, be the best in the world, there's two different things going on there, you know? So I always tell people to remember that, because I get wrestlers all the time, oh, jiu-jitsu's kind of soft, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna get yoked up, man. Like, you're not gonna have a good time with guys that I go with, and you're not gonna have a good time trying to wrestle some of the guys that I go with. You know what I mean? And you could be a good wrestler, and the guys in our gym can wrestle, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing that definitely has gotten better in jiu-jitsu, especially like you said in nogi, is the stand-up has gotten much better because there is wrestlers getting in there, man. So it's like, you gotta like step up your game, bro.
Well, when the rules favor it, it helps too, you know? Like in ADCC, the rules favor it. You know, I'm not going to say that I would try to wrestle much in an IBJJF match. In an IBJJF match, I'll pull guard and then try to wrestle for my butt. You know,
It's safer.
It's safer that way. The rules play, it favors it. You know, I'm not gonna play the standing game in the gi. It doesn't make as much sense. It's harder. You know.
Yeah, well, grips, they take a lot of fundamental wrestling away. If I can grab your collar or your sleeve, you know, now fundamental wrestling has kind of just gone out the window.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that from a few competitive black belts that basically say that it's the first grip is usually the one that wins. It's the person that gets the first. Like when you get to the point where you're you know, first and second, it's like they walk in knowing like it's the person that gets the first grip is usually the one that wins.
Yeah, man.
In the gi,
well, I think in a gi, judo is going to be a little more beneficial than even wrestling. When you can go like this and get that like you said, that first grip on that collar, things become very different. It's hard to take shots on the outside, you know. So the
guys like Rodolfo and Cyborg kind of come to mind with their judo aspect. You know, they're Irvers. Yeah, when they get a hold of your gi, it's a lot different than, you know, us coming from a wrestling background. Gi doesn't really play into wrestling very much. You have to kind of, what we would say to our wrestlers, shoot from outside or shoot from distance, which isn't as applicable in the gi.
I don't know anybody that's rolled with Rodolfo. He never. I've never actually been around when he came by. I remember AJ Sosa telling me that the worst roll he ever had was with Leandro Lowe. I think it was Leandro Lowe.
Yeah.
He's like,
I know. We trained with
uncomfortable fucking roll he ever had. He's like, I hated that match. He's like, I suffered through the whole thing.
I can only imagine.
We trained with Victor Silverio for a while, and he was when he first started. Now he's with Gracie Baja, but when he was down here in Florida, he was with GF Team, and he trained with Rodolfo one time, and or a few times, but he said how bad it was. He's like, it was just so much pressure and the most uncomfortable roll he's ever had.
Yeah, I've rolled with Marcelo Garcia. That it makes you feel like you're a child. Like it's so like it's, and then it's like, you know, and I know that he was being nice to me because the gap between what I know and what he knows is quite large. But like even when you see him roll, like it's Matias Denis came back from winning ADCC, and he came, and you know, sit there and you see him roll with Marcelo, and you're just like, Marcelo makes him look like a like a purple belt. And you're like what the, like, bro, this guy just came back winning fucking ADCC, and you know, and it's like, no, you're not that good.
Always somebody, man. It's crazy. It's insane. That's what's nice about it. Never stops.
So like what explain to me what you're trying to build with your jiu-jitsu pads. Like explain to me like what each of you, obviously you guys are kind of somewhat of a team, even though you're not. You know, you guys obviously complement each other, but like what is it you're trying to accomplish?
So really the next goal, or like the biggest one, is you know, like we've been doing this now. I mean, I've been in jiu-jitsu over a decade, right? So, and I've done really, really well at a lot of the colored belts, you know, especially at brown belt. You know, I won Pan Americans, no-gi. I took second at no-gi worlds, took second in the gi Pan Americans, and had just a really, really good brown belt career. And then at black belt so far, it's been kind of hot and cold. I've had some really big wins against some world champion black belts. I've had some not so good wins, or not so good losses, against some tough guys as well. So really my biggest goal right now is I really want to try to do something at the black belt level. That's always been kind of the goal, is to have a major tournament there. The next one that we're looking at is ADCC. So I'm going to do the trials in November, and I'm going to do 66 kilos, try to see if I can punch a ticket there. Jake's going to try to do 77, and then I think AJ is going to try to do 88 kilos. So ADCC is kind of – AJ Souza's big right now, bro.
Yeah, man, his jiu-jitsu's at 185, but I mean, he's been walking around.
I saw him recently. I was like, AJ, what's up? What's up?
Yeah.
What's going on, bro? Like,
He got big.
like, because he came to an open mat over at Kevin's Winners, and I rolled with him, and it had been a while, and I was like, I saw him. I was like, AJ, man, did you forget what the gym looks like? What's going on?
Man. Yeah,
He's
bro.
Deceptive too.
But the thing is he still moves the same way. And
I know.
Yeah, he's doing Jits King in 2 weeks.
13.
So against some really tough dudes in there, and that's kind of his first step back in a little while. He hasn't competed in like a year because he got his he works for the fire department now, so he's got a big boy job like we do. So navigating being a semi-professional athlete, and also having that day job, So I think he's getting back to trying to compete. And then all of us, I think the trials is really, man, I just saw the production value of ADCC this last time and just what it can do for your name. And I'd really like to do that. And then hopefully go to ADCC, have a good showing. I'm getting older. Like I said, I just turned 30, which I know I can still compete for a few more years, but I have a daughter on the way. So I'd really like to do something getting more towards the coaching side. But I can't do that until I accomplish something at black belt that I really, I told myself when I got into this sport 10 years that I was going to do something at black belt. I'm going to be either a black belt world champ in the gi or, I want to win no gi worlds or ADCC. And for me right now with my schedule, being able to wrestle every day and do a training at AJ's is a lot easier to do than trying to go win the gi worlds. I don't get 2 trainings in the gi, but I can wrestle every day and, get a training in no gi, so that's where I think we're both at, next. And then after that, I'd love to, obviously we're going to stick with Wellington Wrestling, but try to do something with them when we look to hopefully one day, open a gym would be the real big goal. I don't know if did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. ADCC trials, that's the next one for me. That's probably the next one for both of us. I did get offered a match at Jits King, but we had just started training again, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. So I had a grand total of 4 training sessions under my belt before I was offered a match. So I think I'm ready to get back on the mats a little more, get ready for ADCC, have a good showing there, hopefully get to ADCC. And then, like Adam said, the goal is to be a champion somewhere at black belt. We did have great showings at brown belt. I got to the world finals against Gordon Ryan, brown belt at lightweight in 2015. Yeah.
Gordon beat Jake for his world championship.
Yeah.
I laugh about that a lot right now. There was a lot of good guys in that division.
Yeah. I fought Johnny Tama in that one, who's also going to be on the Jits King card with AJ. So coming up, like Adam said, we've taken home a lot of gold medals at the colored belts. But I'm ready to get a black belt, gold medal. That's what I'm looking for.
It's a lot of commitment, man. Like you talk with Gordon Ryan. I didn't realize the his fucking schedule, man. It's like,
for sure. Oh, it's insane.
It's insane. I mean, the guy,
but there's a reason that he's making as much money off of jiu-jitsu is because he's working it. He's doing it every single day. It's what he does. like Adam said, we have day jobs. I have a day job. He's got a day job. You know, that is Gordon's day job, is teaching,
100%.
instructing, working out. Like that's part of his.
Yeah, well, not only that, but John Denhar, he's got that like legit. He's got it down to like a science.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think it's all about, man, I think it's all about management. Like, you know, I had a lot of people when we were coming up, you know, who've asked me before, like, hey, well, how are you going to compete with those guys if you have a day job, right? Well, I look at collegiate wrestlers, guys who are going in, and some of them are medaling even in the Olympics now when they're in college. Those kids go to class all day. They have other things that they're doing other than just wrestling. Like having that balance, I think you can do
100%. You
do it all, man. You can, as long as you're able to schedule your time and you set yourself up, you know, and the jobs that we're in are actually, you know, my job especially, like I get paid somewhat to be around the sport. You know, it's wrestling, it's not jiu-jitsu, but I get paid to be around grappling. You know, obviously I still have to teach and do those things, but I'm there on the mats every single day. And, you know, that is part of, you know, my job title is to be with those kids. And every year we're getting a new crop of kids that are, you know, doing well, you know.
That's awesome, man. Is it what I feel also, at least from what I'm hearing from you guys, is that it's going to make you, when you guys do finally open up the gym, it's going to make you guys really good fucking instructors.
Yeah.
You're dealing with like you got to have patience, man. When you're dealing with like a 5-year-old, up to 13-year-old, and then you deal with the teenagers that you're like, you want to like punch them in the head because they're being teenagers. And to have that patience to be able to kind of teach whatever curriculum you want,
sure.
It's going to be easy for you to just create like a strong curriculum from the gate.
Well, and I think the fact that we have come up with both wrestling and jiu-jitsu, we have such a strong grasp of how to teach both. You know, and that's a big thing, is being able to teach both wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and pulling things from wrestling that have helped us in jiu-jitsu and pulling things in jiu-jitsu that have helped us with wrestling. You know, I started coaching wrestling really young, right after high school, but then I didn't really learn how to coach until I was coaching for Shark. Shark showed me a system. I think Mateo talked a little bit about Shark when we were a little bit, with ATT. But he gave me a system to follow that I've used with my little kids ever since I left his gym. And it was just, it works so well for the younger kids. And actually, I get more pleasure out of teaching the younger kids, those 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, because the look on their face, they just get so much more excited sometimes, you know, like so much more enthusiastic about it. And when I get a parent that tells me how much their kid has changed, you know, how much their kid is so much more respectful now, or has a different level of discipline now, or is priding themselves a little bit more, that's the thing that really helps me and keeps me motivated when I start to get those days that I'm down on myself a little bit or not feeling that great. You know, those are the things that really help me get through. So, you know, learning the system and learning both wrestling and jiu-jitsu is what's really separated us from some of the others.
Well, and I think what Jake's also saying here is if you, in terms of, you know, the question you asked, what's the end goal? The end goal is to eventually, hopefully, make coaching, you know, something that we can do full time. You know, I think we love this sport so much, both sports, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and to be able to give back by having an academy one day would be great. I just think right now, both of us are also at that point. We're at that like crossroad where we're like, okay, I'm transitioning towards being a coach, but I still haven't quite fulfilled everything that I want to as an athlete yet, you know? And that's really where I'm at right now, is like, I know that I'm getting to coach life, but I'm not there just yet. And I'm not ready to give up athlete life.
I haven't fully switched yet, made that switch. I still got a few years left in the tank. I know I do.
That's awesome, man. That's good, man. That's awesome, man. That's good to hear, bro. Good thing, bro. I appreciate this was fun, man.
Dude, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having us on, man, giving us a platform to kind of share our story a little bit.
100%, man. We got to be talking, and I'll probably we actually got to do some jiu-jitsu, man. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the month of June, because I don't know.
Let me know, man. I know they're doing some stuff at AJ's right now because he's getting ready. So they're having small groups. You know, I know Rob, the guy who like helps AJ. They're partners together in owning the gym. Dude's like super up to keeping things sanitary, clean, all that sort of stuff. Even if you are worried though, man, just so you know, they're keeping it nice and clean. So that's an option.
But for anybody that might be watching, yeah,
Right.
doing all the precautions.
But they're keeping it small groups, so definitely let us know. Hit us up, you know, come
People
through.
put it in my mouth, and I'm like, okay with it. It's like
Hey,
that
man.
drop of sweat. It's in your eye. You're like,
I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy how much you miss it, man.
yeah, I can't like, and it's for me. It's been a little longer because I hurt my rib. So I was like almost like 6 weeks before this whole coronavirus now. So it's been like 4 months.
Ribs are the worst, man, because there's not much you can do.
Nah.
Wait, you just gotta wait it out.
It's the worst. It hurts when you breathe. You're just like.
Well, and I got to the point too during this quarantine, man. I feel like I've watched every no-gi tournament out there. I feel like I've watched it. I would spend a couple hours a day. I couldn't train,
Study sessions.
I would just watch an event, and go through it, and then wait, and then next day watch another one until I could start training again. I was lifting and watching film study.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys. So
Bye, brother.
I'm gonna. Where do people find you, man? You guys have like Instagram?
Yeah, definitely. So on Facebook, we have a grappling, like an account for both of us. It's Ferrara Brothers Grappling. And then on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Adam Ferrara BJJ, and then
mine's JM Ferrara
07.
Yeah, JM Ferrara 07.
So definitely give us a follow. Check us out. We'll hopefully be doing big things here at the ADCC East Coast Trials in November.
I'm sure you will. Thanks for tuning in.
Brother. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.